Okay, now that we're done with the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll move on to 1.3, adoption of the July 9th, 2024 Board of Education agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hayworth, seconded by Commissioner Murray. Myers. I'll get these names right. I know, I'll get these names right. I really promise. All those in favor?
We're gonna do electronic vote.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I forgot to tell you, we're gonna be a little bit more techie tonight.
So online voting is open.
Is.
I didn't see it.
It takes a second. Oh. There it comes.
Unanimous.
All right, that passes unanimously, 6-0, with Commissioner Murray, Paul, and Audrey being absent this evening. 1.4, safety message. Michelle.
Okay, this topic is one that I thought was timely, given the heat and everything in the, as SPF and understanding what some protection factor means. I've read various things, so this is from the FDA. It does not relate to the time of solar exposure, but the amount of solar exposure. So I thought there used to be like, SPF 30 is this many minutes, and that's not the case. So, you just have to monitor it, and it says, like 1 hour at 9 o'clock is equivalent to probably 15 minutes at 1 o'clock. So it's kind of the solar, the amount of solar energy. So, a few things to look out for there and just be mindful of. But two other things is do not use expired sunscreen. So a lot of them have a date printed on them, and they should, and don't go over that expiration date. If it does not for some reason, don't use it, or don't use it if you know it was bought over 3 years ago. And then some will say waterproof. I feel like I've seen that on some that we have. But no sunscreens are waterproof. They eventually do wear off with swimming or sweating. So they should indicate on there if they last for 40 minutes or 80 minutes. So, thank you.
Thank you for that. I believe I have a few bottles to throw away because they're probably more than 3 years old in my house. So thank you. Moving on to 1.5, citizen comments. We have 2 this evening. If you still wish to address the school board, you may do so. Just go over and see Patrick. When I call your name to the podium, please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the school board. Our first one is Heather Balsamo.
Hi, my name's Heather Balsamo. I live at 4432 East Tomahawk Lane in Janesville. Members of the Janesville School Board, I am here this evening on behalf of the Janesville Education Association and the more than 800 professional employees who work in this school district that it represents. JEA President Laura Madison is currently in Philadelphia attending the representative assembly of our national organization, the NEA. Last month, she came to your board meeting and highlighted the impact that your decisions on the employee health care plan are having on teachers, paraprofessionals, custodians, and other staff. She raised serious concerns about the way those decisions were made and the lack of dialogue with the JEA that preceded them. And she made a direct request that you listen to staff and urgently meet with the JEA so that we can work together to identify concrete ways that the impact of the new health insurance plan can be financially offset by the district. Last month, we shared a petition with you that more than half of our colleagues have signed, calling on you to meet with us for that discussion. This evening, I am going to share a few of the many stories they have shared so that you can understand their situations and the impact of these increases in their own words. I can't afford this increase. Basically, I will not be able to use my medical insurance except for an accident because it's unaffordable to see the doctor with this change. I am very concerned about the $3,200 deductible for a single person. It was a $1,500 deductible, but now I will never meet the deductible unless I have surgery. I will be paying a lot out of pocket. I am so stressed by the rising costs, I will have to get a third job again. This makes maintaining a positive work-home life balance challenging. I shouldn't have to hesitate going to the doctor myself or hesitate taking a family member. Many of my colleagues are struggling with mental health needs, and many avoid going to the doctor and live with bronchitis and other conditions for months due to the high healthcare costs. Consider how this will impact families where both adults work for the district and have no other option for insurance besides working somewhere else. This has put me in a position of most likely having to resign. I hope something changes because I love my job with the district. I've thought about leaving the district to work for a smaller district that has better health coverage or more seed money. What benefit is there to working in Janesville? I could have better benefits and make more money in a neighboring district if I left today. When I put in my insurance and add the extra amount to my HSA, it is going to be over $400 per paycheck to have insurance. We are approaching catastrophe insurance rates, which are not feasible for a teacher. These new insurance changes came into effect last week, July 1st, and staff are now bearing these unaffordable increases. Last month, Laura asked if you were listening. This month, I have a different question. First, I'd like to point out that I am wearing a shirt that has been given to employees all over the district. On the back, it reads, "We are better together." My question is, do you believe that? Do you believe we are better together? We certainly do. If you believe we are better together, please live up to that motto now. Listen to and work with your employees. Agree to the JEA's urgent request that you meet to discuss some kind of financial relief. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Next up is Krista White. Again, Krista, if you could state your name and address for the record, thank you.
Krista White, 4131 South Tracy Road. All right, so my issue is, somewhere in the school board, it talks about having the principal of the building have complete control. It's that along with a little bit with the non-renewal process. So I'm here, I'll always be here as a former employee, parent, student advocate, and resident. So my roles are gonna overlap, but the message is still the same. My purpose is always gonna be for what is best for the students. And that's, I believe, the first sentence in the handbook, or what the purpose for the Board of Education is. So speaking in front of you is extremely difficult. I have no problem as a teacher in front of students, but in front of peers is rather difficult. But it's more difficult to not have a voice, or being afraid to speak, not knowing where to turn for help, and just not really ever feeling like you are able to share, and basically having to heal while not out of it, I guess basically, because my passion won't allow me to. So basically, with some things that have happened to me personally here, it's not about any sort of personal vengeance, but it's kind of given me a bigger purpose with just some of the things that have transpired. But, and more difficult, or most difficult, is kind of feeling like a victim of injustice, because I feel like there could be a better process for when someone is up for non-renewal, maybe just a little bit more difficult, or research done on that individual, because there is stated that there's one person in charge, the principal of the building. And I'm not sure if you know, but like 6% of males have either they're either a sociopath or psychopath, and 30% of us of the population have some traits of that. So to have one person in charge is not the best thing to have, along with working as a team. But then you say, okay, there's APs and things like that, but people are afraid to speak. And because of becoming the target of the principal at Parker, based on personal decisions, by the way, and then bullying and vetting other people in the process over 2 years, not having a voice, being accused, having things fabricated, and then leading to the non-renewal where that's what you're given. And even with the hearing process only having a half an hour, when you have a ton of information and your brain is swimming anyway, is not enough time for someone to have a voice. So thinking about having a different policy for the principals, revising, and also doing research with the non-renewals, and then maybe some in-depth evaluations of principals. There are great principals. I actually would like to shout out Stephanie Edwards. My kids have gone to Van Buren, and it shows you what a great principal can do for a building and the environment that is there for the staff, and then that rolls over to the students. But anyway, so that is really, what I want to say is also, I speak up here because I'm not the only person that was an employee at Parker High School that has gone through this, and so that is where it's not about, it turned into something bigger. So, thank you.
Thank you, Krista. Anyone else wish to address the board at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. 3.1, consider approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Approve.
Second.
You wanted to make a motion instead of approve?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay. All right, so made a motion by Commissioner Dahmerhauser, second by Hayworth. Should have a little box pop up here. Okay, that passed unanimously, 6-0, with Commissioners Murray, Paul, and Audrey absent this evening. Moving on to board items, 4.1, consider approval of resolution authorizing an independent hearing officer for the School District of Janesville in accordance with procedures outlined in state law. Scott Garner.
Good evening. As you are aware, for the veteran commissioners, and for the new ones, the board every year has the opportunity to choose whether or not it hears its own expulsions or assigns an IHO or an independent hearing officer. The School District of Janesville Board of Education has chosen to do an IHO since about 2009 or so. It's been a long time. So each year I come to you and ask, are you willing to hire another an IHO this year as well for the 24-25 school year? And that's what the resolution essentially is asking. And I need you to approve that if possible.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve that from Commissioner Hayworth in a second. And a second by Commissioner Myers. Sorry for the microphone. You have that? Okay. So wait momentarily. Any questions before? Okay.
Unanimous.
All right, that passes unanimously 6-0, with 3 being absent. Moving on to 4.2, you can stay right there. Scott, consider approval of recommended appointment of Sarah Gehring as our independent officer for the 2024-2025 school year.
So moved. Second.
Okay, you don't even have to talk tonight,
Well, I will
Scott.
say
Just-
Sarah was very happy to continue to work and be a partner with the School District of Janesville.
Yeah.
Kudos to Kim Pirenboom, who works with her on a regular basis.
I know she's been since 2018 when I've been on the board, and she's always done an exceptional job. I don't know if she goes back farther than that.
Yeah, I think she does. I remember a long time ago, we had a different lawyer doing it, but I've been here a long time. I don't know, Kim, do you have an idea of how long? I don't, sorry to put her
Okay.
on the spot, so.
And I'm getting older, so who did that motion? Okay, sorry. Made a motion by Commissioner Millard, second by Commissioner Myers. Any discussion or questions for Scott?
I just think she does a wonderful job.
Yep, she does. All right, you will see something pop up here momentarily.
It's unanimous.
All right, that passes unanimously 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you, Scott. All right, moving on to 4.3, presentation and consider approval of preliminary budget for 2024-2025. We have Matthew Sylvester Knutson. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm filling in for CFO Dan McCray this evening, who's traveling back to Wisconsin. So in your board packet, you have a memo that we present annually to approve a preliminary high-level budget number for a general fund for the fiscal year. So for our purposes of this memo, the general fund is including the special education fund because there's an interfund transfer from the general fund to special education because it's not self-sufficient. So for our purposes, we're taking a high-level cast-forward look at the 2024-2025 fiscal year budget based on reasonable estimates and information that we know today. It's going to change by the time October comes around that we actually approve the budget. So based on the data that we know today, estimating revenues and expenses to be just over $149 million. And again, that's just the general fund, which is the general fund and special education. So a couple of items of note, this number, $149 million, excludes over $10 million of ESSER-related revenues and expenses that were incurred or will be incurred in the fiscal year that just ended. Even though there actually will be activity in 2024-25, we don't have an estimate for that yet. So the October budget will include some ESSER expenses, but not $10 million. Some other highlights, this preliminary projection includes approximately $6 million of additional revenue limit authority. This is driven preliminary by two factors. One is a $325 per student state-approved increase in the revenue limit formula. And this is also the fourth year of the non-recurring operating referendum, which permits an additional $3 million of revenue limit authority. The final highlight is equalization aid. The Department of Public Instruction publishes an estimate July 1st of every year. The estimate for Janesville for 24-25 is $76 million of state equalization aid. And this is up from approximately $72 million for the 2023-24 fiscal year. Now, this doesn't mean that we will have $4 million of revenue available to us to spend. The equalization aid formula falls within the revenue limit, and all else equal the revenue limit. When equalization aid increases, property taxes decrease. There's an inverse relationship, so vice versa. If equalization aid decreases, property taxes, all else equal, will increase. So that also doesn't mean that even though there's a $4 million increase in equalization aid, that the total levy will fall, because that's just one component, one fund of the levy. So we're in July right now. A number of variables are still unknown at this time before we present a budget in October. Some of those main variables are each September, the third Friday of September, we have a student count. That's the primary driver of the revenue limit formula. Open enrollment will also be finalized come September, as well as independent charter school and private school vouchers. The state equalization aid estimate published on July 1st will change and will be finalized on October 15th. And then property values, which will determine the mill rate for the district, will be finalized on October 1st. So in summary, what's presented tonight is a very high-level preliminary look at the 2024-25 fiscal year. Many variables will be finalized by the time we get to present a budget in October. So, thank you.
Any questions for Matthew? All right, you get off easy tonight.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, I do need a motion to approve the preliminary budget for the 2024-2025 as presented by Matthew.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Hayworth, seconded by Commissioner Dauerhausen. Any additional questions? All right, let's wait for our electronic vote.
Go back to your main screen.
Oh, thank you. There it is. Thank you.
Unanimous.
All right, that passes unanimously, 6-0. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to 5, summary of board request. I don't have any. I don't know if President Murray had any board request. So, yeah.
Do you know the status of the one I submitted for standardization of communication from coaches and staff to students a couple months ago?
I do not, but I will double check on that and
Okay.
send you an email.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thanks for that follow-up, just so we know the status of that. 5.1, future board meeting dates and agenda items. That would not be me. I'm going to turn that over to Denise because she's a coordinator and our quarterback.
Hut, hut, hike. We only have one more meeting coming up in July. That's the Board of Education meeting on Tuesday, July 23rd at 6 PM here at the Educational Services Center.
Okay, so fastest board meeting ever, 21 minutes. Please take note, President Murray, we are adjourned.